Hi everyone, welcome back to Function Pilates. Today is day 4 of our 8-part beginner series, and the theme is flow. Now that we've been building awareness, breath, and concentration, today we're focusing on how to bring it all together in a smooth, continuous flow of movement. In Pilates, flow isn't about rushing, it's about moving with grace, control, and rhythm. Think of your transitions as part of the exercise, not just a way to get to the next one. So as we move today, pay attention to how one movement connects to the next. Let your breath guide you and allow each exercise to feel like a seamless part of a greater whole. So this is where the magic of Pilates starts to take shape. So let's move together with presence and flow, and let's go ahead and get started.
Let's go ahead and get started with having a dowel ready for us, just like we did last week in day 3. And let's set our spring setting. So 2 mediums, 1 heavy. If you prefer to go a little heavier than that at this point, by all means, add another light spring to it. And then get comfy, lie on your back. Let's take that headrest down, maybe hug those knees into the chest as we warm up the low back and stretch things out. We're gonna begin with a very similar warm-up we did last week. However, we are gonna add in a little bit of an extra challenge today. So arms are down beside you, taking your breath in through the nose, allow those ribs to expand. And as you exhale, start to rock your pelvis back. Let's peel the spine up. Let those knees reach away from your shoulders and then roll your spine back down piece by piece. Beautiful. At this point, we should feel like we are able to articulate the spine in so much more in a more mobile way at this point. Good. And release through the hips. And again, we're paying attention that the knees are going to stay hip distance apart. We have this equal bit of pressure pressing down into our feet, and we're navigating the spine with our abdominals. So intentionally draw your abs in towards your spine, belly button towards your low back, peel yourself up, hold, getting everything involved through the whole back side of your body. Glutes should feel it, the back of your hamstring should feel it. And we're getting some nice flexibility through the spine and through the hips here. And this is just such a natural warm-up here for us before we get to going here in the full body workout. So grab a hold of your pegs, take one leg at a time into your tabletop, connect the knees, and we're going to go ahead and allow those legs to fall over as a unit. Remember, the goal is to keep both shoulder blades down, not arching through your low back, and exhaling through center. Inhale over to the other side. Good. Scoop the belly. Exhale through center. Start to challenge yourself now. This should feel very comfortable at this point. We've done it already. It's our 4th time doing pelvic curl, supine spine twist. So start to notice, where can I add in more concentration? Where can I add in more of my breath? Now that you're really understanding the exercise itself, it's really identifying the movement, and then how can we just layer on top of that so that we can naturally flow into each exercise, right? Good. Just a few repetitions on each side here. Excellent. Inhale over. Exhale through center. And then over to the side. And exhale through center. Good. Let's go ahead and keep those legs in tabletop here, okay? Let's go ahead and curl it up and slowly lower it back down. So again, this is progressing you a tiny bit more. If you're not ready for this and you would prefer to have your feet on the foot bar, definitely go there. But for those that are ready to move forward, this would be the natural progression, is to find our way in tabletop here. Beautiful. So think of your arms as zombie arms as they hover off the carriage and come straight up towards the ceiling, where wrists are directly over shoulder. Our eyesight is down towards our belly button so that it is a nice comfortable amount of technique through our neck, that we're not creating any extra tension that's unnecessary. And about 10 repetitions of what we call this 100 prep, and then just take a breather. Maybe rocking those knees from side to side. We're going to take it into our hundreds. And this time I am going to keep my legs in tabletop. But again, if you find yourself not able to progress naturally the whole time, drop your legs into the foot bar, okay? So inhaling for 5 counts and exhaling for 5 counts. We inhale 2, 3, 4, 5, exhale 2, 3, 4, 5, inhale 2, 3, 4, 5, exhale 2, 3, 4, 5, inhale 2, 3, 4, 5, exhale 2, 3, 4, 5, inhale 2, 3, 4, 5, exhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Beautiful. Keep going, guys. Eyesight towards the belly button, arms are long, shoulders down, chin is dropped. Keep breathing. Going at your own comfortable rhythm here. Up to 100 if that makes sense for you today. Beautiful. Keep that belly pulling away from your t-shirt, staying strong and stable through the hips, and gently lower yourself back down. Amazing. Excellent. So again, the warm-up is so necessary before we jump into the flow of class, into our footwork. We want to feel the warmth in our midsection, in our core, so that we can learn how to facilitate each repetition from there. I hope that makes sense to you guys, but if you have questions, drop it in the comments below and I'm happy to discuss further. But we're heels on, hip distance apart. Again, think of your feet pressing against this imaginary wall. So we're minimizing the momentum of rocking your feet back and forth. So if you had a tendency to do that and you caught yourself earlier, I'd really like you to see how much more can I minimize and strengthen through the ankles into the knees and into the hips. That's what this whole point of footwork is about, is that we are intentionally strengthening all of those areas. Let's drop it to your toes, parallel hip distance apart, elevate those heels, take an inhale to prepare, exhale, stretch out long. Beautiful, just hovering off that stopper. So much control as we flow through this exercise, just hovering off the stopper, keeping your chest open, and really allowing those heels to challenge you and stay lifted. So if you notice that they're dropping down, what can you do in order to have equal weight distribution in both of your feet and allow your heels to stay slightly lifted? Good. And again, about 10 repetitions here as we're going through these. Let's go into our next variation. Heels together, toes apart. We're on our toes still. Zipping through those inner thighs. And again, we are on day 4. It is still very new, especially if you've never done Pilates or you're just still very in the beginning stages. But you're going to naturally see how we flow a little bit faster from one movement to the next, mainly because the goal is I don't have to sit here and really fine tune and discuss all of those elements of Pilates. We're naturally just taking everything we learned from day 1 into day 2, into day 3, and again into day 4 at this point. Okay, so let's go up to our heels. We're nice and wide, slightly separated with the knees, external rotated at the hip. Exhale, press out. Inhale, we bend. And I know some of these words might feel a little bit confusing at first, but it will become like a second language as you begin to hear this more and more. Good, press out. And we are really wanting to think of using the backs of our legs here, so getting those hamstrings involved. Yes, the quads are gonna feel it too, but lifting from the pelvic floor. How do we activate those Kegel muscles, drawing the abdominals down in towards the spine? Let's move it into our wide second on our toes. So toes are on the foot bar. We're slightly externally rotated at the knee. Good. And tailbone's heavy. So if you feel like you're lifting your hips up as you press out, maybe you have too much tension on. So I would suggest reducing the resistance so that you're not lifting your hips or creating that Elvis in the pelvis, as so we say. The goal is to create as much stability as possible, and that's going to help strengthen our core long term. Good. Let's move it back to the center. Toes are on. We're about fist distance apart. Push out to 2 straight legs, and we'll drop those heels under, lift the heels up. Beautiful. So we're going into our calf raises. And I do love a nice light spring tension for calf raises. I'm not going to lie, just because it's so great to help promote articulation through the ankles and the feet, especially if you have tight muscles in your feet or your ankles or your toes for that matter. So if that is something that you kind of struggle with, I would say with calf raises, reduce the tension down. But with heavier weight, you will start to feel the muscles in the calves getting stronger. Let's go ahead and take it into our running. So we're alternating from one leg to the next. We bend one knee, we keep the other leg straight. And so intentional as we bend and straighten. There's nothing fast about this. Our shoulders are relaxed, our chest is open wide. You should be able to hear your own breath here. Beautiful. And then let's go ahead, bring yourself back in again. And then let's carefully sit ourselves up. We're going to go into our single leg footwork. So I have on 2 mediums and 1 light spring. Once you have selected your springs, go ahead and lie yourself down. And again, we'll adjust with both heels on the foot bar first. And then we're going to go ahead and take that right leg into tabletop here, okay? Inhale to prepare, exhale, press on out. So this unilateral work is so important to maintain equal stability on right and left sides here. So you want to really take note, am I favoring one side? Am I feeling something different? Is it a struggle? Am I actually bringing my shoulders up a little bit more? So yes, we do in this workout have you on the same spring tension, but work with what your body is telling you, and that's okay. Switch sides, press on out. Good, nice and long. So our left leg is in tabletop. It's a very energetic tabletop. And what I mean by that is that it's not dragging, your foot's not dragging to the floor, your knee's not pulling in towards you, but there's a sense of contraction in that leg. You're pointing your toes, you're thinking about it. Your abs are drawn in, just holding that left leg in tabletop. Beautiful. And then pay attention to the right foot. Are you everting? Are you turning your toes out? Things like that. Are you turning your toes in? Let's move it to your toes. So double feet on the bar and then take your right leg into tabletop and stretch out. And then with this one, if you even want to glance at your left foot, the one that's pressing against the foot bar, what's occurring here? Do you feel all of your toes participating in this movement? Or do you see or notice or feel that one side is doing more of the work than the entire contribution of the foot? So those are the things that I want you to bring into awareness as you're flowing through these exercises. Good, set that back down. And then let's take it to the other side. Left leg is in tabletop. We're pressing away with our right foot and bend. Good, our fingers are long. We're pressing gently against the carriage. Exhaling out. Think of that ha breathing where you're fogging up a mirror. So good as we just continue to warm up the larger muscle groups of our body. Just really sets us with a good mindset as we move through our workout. And rest it. Very nice. So let's sit ourselves up. We're going to go into our ab category here. So all springs are going to go on. We're going to go into the short box series like we did last time. So grab your box, place it horizontal. We call this short box. If you are taller, and I would say like 5'8", 5'9", anything above that, you could go ahead and use your short box over the shoulder blocks. And then foot bars going down, find your safety strap right away. Have your dowel handy. We'll get to that in just a moment. But again, I do want you to play with this where you're keeping your feet grounded on the ledge. And it is such a really good way to learn how to connect deeper with your abs. So let's go into genie arms, crossing one arm over the next, and then drop your chin. We'll tuck and articulate as we scoop through the lumbar spine and then restack and rebuild. So when I say the lumbar spine, I'm primarily meaning that we're going to articulate and tuck from your low back and then scoop your belly, keep it nice and contracted as you return up to the top. So no movement in the feet. We're not shifting on the box. We're staying very grounded and planted there. Excellent. Push your feet into the ledge as you rebuild the spine. Nice. And I really feel like that cue does connect with most people because there's this natural tendency to want to lift your feet away. Okay, so let's go ahead and shake it out. We're going to head into our flat back. So let's do genie arms, but the other way with genie arms. And you're hinging from your hips. So you're not going back as far. Feel that quiver and then return back to the top. Okay, so we're leaning back into it. Feel the quiver and then return back up. So every time you are returning to the top, press your feet into the ledge even more to deepen your core connection. Beautiful. Think of a string pulling you upward without lifting your chin up. Nice. Okay, let's grab your dowel. And we're going to go ahead and raise your arms straight up towards the ceiling, framing your ears. We're going to inhale to rotate, and at a diagonal, we reach it long. Now, with the heaviness of your torso, you're going to bring yourself back up to the top. We rotate to the left. We go at a diagonal. Think of those sits bones heavy and grounded. They're concreted into the box, if that makes any sense. Exhale to lift up. And I really want to stress the point that think of your body as something super heavy, that it's not your hips, it's not your legs, it's not the strap that's lifting your torso up. It's your obliques that are assisting you up here. It's your main core, your pelvic floor, the breath of the diaphragm, the stabilizing abdominal muscles, and the stabilizing back extensor muscles. Good. How are our shoulders? Are we shrugging them? Dropping those shoulders down? And then relax it there. We're going to go ahead and drop it back one more time. Hold and pulse it up for just a nice finale here. This just little bonus. So tiny. Exhale, breathe. Try to open your mouth and then return back up again. Good. Nice work here. Okay, so let's go ahead and carefully come off of there. You can tuck your dowel somewhere safe so that you don't have the tendency to accidentally trip on that. I'm huge with safety. I like to teach all my students about that in our course. So foot bar can go back up again, and I'm going to reduce my tension to a light spring. So find your light spring. Headrest is going to go all the way half up, and we're going to change out our handles into our loops. We're going to go on our sides here, guys. So if you want a pillow, by all means grab one. I'm just going to go on my side with the headrest at its highest point, and it's going to work fine for me, but I understand sometimes that's just not super comfortable. Grab a hold of your loop in front of you and then place it in your top leg. So hips are stacked, the bottom leg is bent. It's going to go for the right here. Shoulders are stacked. I like to hold onto the peg there with my bottom hand. And then when you're ready, straighten out your leg. Keep your foot flexed for me, okay? So when I say flexed, I mean pull your toes towards your eyesight. But look straight ahead. Sorry, that probably wasn't a good cue. And think of pressing through the bottom of your heel here. So as we exhale, we're really intensifying the glute squeeze. So you want to think of squeezing your butt cheek and then really warming up through the back of that top leg here. Beautiful. Shoulders are down and relaxed. Try not to overly grip the peg. And then straighten your leg out for me. Point out through your toes as you bring your leg forward. Exhale, pull it straight back. So as we're on our side, I want you to also think about not dumping your whole bottom side into the carriage, right? There is a sense of wanting to find our neutral pelvis here, neutral spine. So that means that we have to create what we call a mouse house. So we should feel like there's a little bit of space between our bottom oblique and the mat that we're resting on to the carriage. Good. Stabilize through those hips as best as possible. And then lift the legs straight up. We're going to go into nice circles to mobilize at the hip socket. And again, it's going to determine on your body how big of a circle you can get here, okay? So maybe you are staying smaller within range because you're waking up these sleepy glute muscles, right? It's pretty intense when we haven't done things like this or we're just not used to it. But try to avoid your hips rocking back and forth. That's the main goal here, is to stabilize your hips as much as possible. Beautiful. Such a great exercise for hip strengthening here. And then carefully remove that loop. You can hang it back up on the peg. If you need to take a stretch, by all means, go for it. And I'm going to go ahead and move along here to the other side. So grab a hold of your loop and take it into your top foot. Your bottom leg is going to stay bent. And restack those hips. It's a new side. Sometimes it just feels weird to get comfortable again. So take your time as you address your shoulders being stacked and your hips. And then we'll flex the foot. We're going to bend that knee and then exhale, straighten out the leg. So with the intention of thinking of your leg being in line with your body. So as you straighten your leg, your ankle, knee, and hip should all be in one long line, as if you were standing up nice and tall. And press. And then we want to avoid the leg lifting too high or dropping too low. We're looking for the alignment that the ankle can stay with the knee to hip. Beautiful. Exhale, press. Shoulders down. Keep the legs straight, point out through the toes. Exhale, squeeze through that top butt cheek and pull back. And it's also like, how much hip extension do we have? Because you'll notice one side might feel a little bit more challenging. Try to relax your shoulders, your neck. It's always important to do this inventory of your body as you are working out. And again, the whole point of the sideline series is that this is about strengthening your hips. Our pelvis takes on a lot of work. Let's move it into your hip circles there, going up and around. A few one way and a few the reverse. But when we think of our pelvis, it's there to stabilize the spine. And it also acts as a shock absorber to the lower limbs so that we can climb, jump, all sorts of things, right? Run. So it's so important that we address a portion of our Pilates workout and really focus on hip strengthening exercises for it. In this particular, it is one. Even when we do all of our supine work when we're on our back, that is still part of the hip strengthening. So go ahead and bring it back in. Very nice. We're going to go into some nice stretches and we're going to keep our foot in the loop. So on your back, left foot's in the loop, and then you can keep your right foot on the foot bar. Just bend into your right one. And you guys are in charge of your own stretch. You know exactly where that stopping point is. So just take it for a few breaths there. Then straighten out your right leg, send your left leg out, then bend your right knee. I like to do that because I feel like we can get deeper into the inner thigh, the adductor. And then you're going to send your left leg across the midline for your IT band stretch. And the more you can internally rotate your left foot or even your toes to look away from your body, the deeper that IT band stretch is going to feel. And I'm sure I don't need to elaborate on that. I'm sure you guys will feel that anyways. And then we'll take our piriformis stretch, which is our figure 4. So right ankle over left knee. Beautiful. It's sometimes so nice to mix up our stretches and add these in as opposed to just, an Eve's lunge or something. And then take that right foot into the well. This is more of a quad hip flexor stretch. So for those that are super tight, you're going to feel this instantly. Just be careful that you're not creating any extra tension in your low back. So if that starts to bother you, feel anything, eliminate it right away. Okay, let's do the other side. Let's take that foot, the right loop in the right foot, where you can keep our left foot on the foot bar, and then we're bending deeply into it for our hamstring stretch. Just find a gentle breath, comfortable pace. There's no right or wrong here as you're breathing. Let's straighten out that right leg out to the side. Deepening that inner thigh stretch. Good. Take your IT band stretch. So you're going to take your right leg over the midline, turn the toes, really open up the side there. So nice. And then we'll take it into your piriformis stretch, your figure 4. So ankle over knee. Left ankle over right knee. And then go ahead and find that left foot in the well for your last stretch for the quad. You can have a nice soft bend in your right knee if you need to. And then carefully find your foot bar, and then let's go ahead and hang up your strap. Go ahead and sit yourself up, and we're going to go into some arms here. And I'm going to do that today where I'm sitting on the carriage, but if you still love the box or just works better for you, go ahead and find your box there. So I'm still on that light spring. Both hands are in the loops, and we're going to hug a tree here. So I have a soft bend at my knees so that it's not pulling on my hip flexor. And it's a challenge here to sit up nice and tall. So really puff your chest up, drop your shoulders. If you have a mirror, that's so great. If you don't, just feel how it is in your body. Sometimes it's like I tell students to record themselves so that they can see how they are executing the exercise. So if you want to try that at home too, feel free. And we'll go into your circles. So we're going to lift those arms up towards the ceiling, frame the ears, drop those arms down. Good. And if this is too much for your shoulder socket, you have an injury, a condition, then we are just maybe going up just to your shoulder level and circling it out. Good. Keep those abs drawn in. Let's reverse the circle. And as you do this, again, it's so demanding on our postural muscles, especially if they're weak. Encourage yourself to stay tall. So if that means, well, Vanessa, I can't do as many repetitions as you're doing today, no big deal. You do as many repetitions as you can do that keeps you tall, and then it's game over. You take a break or you basically end it for that day. Let's go ahead and crisscross those legs here. I'm going to go into our salute. So hands are right where the eyebrows are at, and you're going to straighten your arms and bend your elbows. And I like the crisscross position mainly because you have to hinge at your hips in order to stabilize for balance. This work is coming from the tricep, so it's all about strengthening the backs of the arms, but the biceps are going to feel this as well too. I like to aim where the wall and the ceiling meet. However, I don't want you looking up there. So eyesight is down on the springs, just so that your cervical spine stays in line with the torso. Beautiful. And then release it. Very nice. Let's hang that up here, guys. And we're going to go ahead and take it into our lateral flexion. So we're going to go into Mermaid, and I'm going to do this on the box today. So you are going to be short box, horizontal. However, line it up at the edge of your carriage so you can see a small space of your carriage, and then take it in as you sit on top. Your left leg is bent, resting on the box. Your right knee is resting on the carriage. Push away with your left arm. Take that nice lateral side bend. And the reason why I like this is because it does honor a little bit more of the hip stretching, especially if you do have tighter hips. But if you like the traditional version, just sitting on the carriage, you can just go ahead and do that as well. Good. Reach up and over. My goal is to introduce more creativity and modifications on each individual and what works better for them. And then go ahead and add a rotation here. In a healthy spine, if you don't have any other disc or spinal injuries, take that rotation. And then go ahead and slowly unwind. And then we'll just carefully turn ourselves around. Okay, when you're ready, let's go ahead, right hand in the middle of the foot bar, take a breath, and we will reach on over. Nice and tall. And again, focus on the separation of the ribs as we are deepening the stretch here as we side bend over. And then if you do like that challenge of what I've been explaining the previous days of the workout, think of your torso being very heavy. If you don't want to waste time on stretching, let's get the obliques involved. That's when you create this heaviness in your torso. So it's just the way on how it's being cued is so important to understand. Is this about stretching or is this about like actual strengthening? It could be both. It's just you have to understand when it's appropriate to stretch and when it's appropriate to contract so that you are strengthening. Let's finish it off with some extension work. So we're going to go into my favorite, which is Swan. So we're on the long box. I'm still on that light spring. I haven't even changed it. So separate your feet for me. Go out to 2 straight arms. We're going to inhale to lift the chest. And then we're going to exhale to lower the chest. And we can bend the elbows to come right back in. We press to 2 straight arms. We inhale to lift the chest. We exhale to lower back to neutral. And think about your thighs lifting off the box slightly. So if you notice that your legs might be dragging a little bit, what can you do to lift them up? And that technically means that we have to squeeze through our glutes. So we have to have a lot of those muscles have to be so engaged in order to feel that. And I'm pointing out through my toes. So again, think of yourself as being very energetic through your lower limbs here. Beautiful. Press on out. And again, I just love the way this feels. It's so important for us to get extension. We're hardly ever on our stomachs, hardly ever doing things like this. So it's really important to take the time to do this as well. So let's carefully come on off, guys. And I love to end it with a couple standing roll downs here. So standing hip distance apart, sweep those arms up. You're gonna lower those arms down to the floor. Slowly rebuild your spine. Shoulders are gonna roll back. Excellent. And one more time, reach. It's also important just to kind of close out the flow here, right? So it feels complete. But thank you guys again for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. If you are interested in our teacher training program, our online course is starting at the end of September. So I'd love to chat more about that information with you. So everything's in that description box below.